I'll keep refreshing my feed until I see it pop up that I can view. Oh, I see you.
Yeah.
So you are all set to go. People can see and hear you now. And we've got 4 minutes left, so if you want to just hang out and welcome people for the next 4 minutes, totally fine.
Okay, so in addition to you, who else has been working to set this up?
Me and Matt in marketing, Hannah, and my assistant Claire.
Okay. And which you work in outreach and education, is that it? Or?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
So it looks like Chris has commented and given you a wave, and I just commented, hi Larry.
Okay.
Hopefully you can see those pop up.
Right. So what do I do about these comments? Or
you can just keep note of them as you're going through your presentation, and then if you are running out of things to talk about, glance down there and I will throw you a question.
Oh, okay. But I don't need to comment back or anything.
No, you don't need to comment back.
Yeah, because I'm not that good.
No problem.
Okay, so it's 4:57. Oh, Alex, what do you call this discussion? It's just a...
We're just calling it a Facebook Live discussion and talk about the different aspects of our organization that people might not know.
Okay, sounds good.
It's super laid back, very informal. Don't worry about making mistakes or anything.
No.
All right, Larry, I'm going to hang up the phone unless you need me, and we'll let you do your thing.
Okay, ready to
Good
go.
luck. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome, Alice.
Bye.
Bye now. Welcome to Facebook. This is the live open discussion for Ballet Arizona. My name is Larry Phibbs. I'm an accompanist at Ballet Arizona. And I was asked last week by Alexandra, who works in education and outreach, last week, if I would do a live Facebook discussion. Originally it was for yesterday, but I couldn't do it, so they asked me if I would do it today. And I said, sure, I'm not otherwise busy right now, so I'd like to welcome everyone. Normally I would be at the ballet playing for, probably, I think, level 5 on Thursdays, but have been doing that in a while. But I hear things have still been going on, and the students are trying to keep busy over the computers, and which is great. Let me tell you a little bit about myself for those of you who may not know me. I don't know who all's out there. Anyway, my name is Larry Phibbs. I moved to Phoenix back in 1999, and right away I called like a week later, and they needed a accompanist. So course, I started working right away. And so I got here just before Eve Anderson did. I've been here a long time. Before that, I worked at Houston Ballet, and I started there back in 1992. I had never played for ballet before, but I was doing a musical. We were doing Sweeney, Todd at the time back in Houston. And a lady who was the wife of a friend of mine, she was the director of the Houston Ballet Academy. And they came and saw the show, and she just loved it and all that. Well, it came time I needed a job, and they needed an accompanist. So I started playing for them, and I knew nothing about ballet class or anything. And but I'd done lots of theater and things like lots of accompanying. But so they started me like playing with level 1 and 2 classes. So they moved nice and slow, and I could get an idea of what the steps were and what kind of music to play for that. So I, was really interested. I loved it right away. And I was a little confused at first, but with, time, it got easier. But actually, I was only there a year, and they needed a music coordinator for the academy and asked me to do it. And I thought it was crazy, and I actually have a real job in the arts, but it was great. Even after a year, I'd only been playing for ballet class for a year. And here I was working for one of the top schools in the country with one of the top companies. And it was, Ben Stevenson was there at the time. He was artistic director. And he was very intimidating. He's very dry, British sense of humor. He was wonderful. But I learned so much, and I had a great time. And then, 1999, I moved here, and I needed a change of pace, and my family was out here. And I started working at Ballet Arizona right away, and been there ever since. So actually, let me tell you about my education a little bit. I went to Colorado State University. I have degrees in organ, actually, Bachelor and Masters degree in organ performance. And, I didn't go into education or business or anything like that. So I thought, well, now what do I do after? And it took a while to figure out how to make a living, working in music. But I always stayed busy doing music directing shows and theaters and things like that. And then eventually the opportunity came to me to work as an accompanist for ballet. And I didn't realize before then that that's an actual legitimate way to make a living. I also work as an organist at a church in Scottsdale. They have, I know the last couple of months, most churches have been closed due to restrictions and things like that. The church where I play, they are Christian Scientist, and I'm just an organist there. I'm not a member. I just play there. But they're Christian Scientists. They don't believe in a lot of stuff that's going on. And I'm calling Alex because I'm not sure this is going the way it's supposed to.
Hi, Larry.
Hi, is this video working?
It is pausing and buffering on our end.
Because I have nothing. I have nothing on my end.
Or no.
Huh?
Or no problems or no comments.
I haven't seen anything. Oh, wait. Oh, it says the video keeps pausing, hard to follow.
Actually, right now it seems to be fine. I can see you now.
Really? Okay, because I can't see myself.
Okay.
Okay, well, I'll just keep going.
Yeah, We'll just have you keep going, and then we will take clips from it and stitch them together when we repost.
Okay. Can you send me a comment if we're running out of time or whatever?
Yes, I will.
Thank you. Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Okay. I just talked to Alex. I'm sorry. I apologize for anything. She said I kept cutting in, but she just said she just saw me, and I can't see myself. So I'm going to keep going. This is my first time doing Facebook or anything like that. So I don't think it's my fault. It did take us a while to get things set up on my computer so we could do this. Someone asked a question, can you talk about adapting the classical repertoire to ballet class? That's a great question because, you know, so many times you think, oh, this piece would be great for ballet. And then when you analyze it, you take apart. The thing about ballet, everything is usually 8 or 16 measures or counts long. So you have these phrases where all that music has to fit in. So lots of times you may find a piece from an opera, say. I know La Traviata has great sound like waltzes, but there's too many measures, so you can't really use that music, you know. Now, sometimes people edit things to make it fit. I try not to do that because that's not really respecting the. But, and then there's sometimes what I try to avoid, I've always tried to avoid playing for ballet class because we do it every day. I try not to play any ballet music because we do that on stage. You know, I don't think they need to hear that a lot in class. So I try to avoid that. There's lots of great music out there that I used to go through the library and just look through book after book after book of different things and just copy what I could find, you know. So okay, so someone, Chris Knudsen, wrote in, how does playing for the ballet differ from playing in other arts arenas? Well, the thing is, for ballet, you know, it used to be lots of times they would use accompanists for the rehearsals too. So you'd be there, you'd play class in the morning and then stay and play for rehearsals all day long. At Ballet Arizona, they don't really do that. It's, you know, it gets very expensive to pay someone, but it's so much easier for them to use a CD or a DVD or things like that. So they don't, as far as I used to music direct a lot of theater, and that I loved because you had to teach the music and then you had to conduct the rehearsals and then you got to perform the show. So because I was usually off stage or we had a small combo of musicians, a small orchestra, you know, off to the side. So that I really liked because you got to do all phases of the show. The director, they'd come and direct the rehearsals. And then once it's open, they were done with it. But I was, especially shows like we did Sweeney, Todd, and years ago in Houston, and the music's so amazing. And to be able to play that, when it was just 2 keyboards, we didn't even have an orchestra. To play a show like that, the music's amazing. You know, that was so much fun. Years ago, I played or out at South Mountain Community College when they opened a new their Performing Arts Center opened. It's beautiful theater. We did West Side Story, and I had like 10 musician orchestra. We had a real orchestra pit. I had my keyboards. I was playing and conducting at the same time, and everyone on stage. That was so much fun because that's like some of the best music ever written, and it was so hard, and we actually pulled it off. And doing that was so much fun. But see, there again, that's another kind. Being a conductor, whether it's a ballet or for the opera, you're an accompanist. You're accompanying the people performing on stage. That's what I love about it. In ballet, they don't really use much. They use orchestra, but they rarely use piano um, on stage. Which is fine. It's very stressful, but anyway. Um, yeah, I want to talk about the things I like playing for ballet. Um, First of all, I always admired dancers, and I love good legs, and dancers have the best legs, so that's a perk. But besides that, like I say, I used to do a lot of theater, but I had no idea what dancers go through every day of their career and their training. I had no idea because I trained a lot of music and I've done a lot of theater, and actors are like the least disciplined people in show business. And musicians are pretty disciplined, yeah, but dancers have to be incredibly disciplined. But that's one of the things I liked about it. But besides that, it's one of the few environments that I can work with kids and not be driven crazy because there's very strict rules that they have to follow, and they can't act up, or they're not supposed to act up in class. It's not about them personally, it's about the environment, and that I can handle. Otherwise I wouldn't have been able to do this for 28 years, almost 29 years playing for ballet. So that's one thing. I really enjoy watching kids learn something artistic, whether it's music or dance. So many, I started piano when I was 6, and it's very different for kids because they have a whole class and they go multiple times a week. We saw our teacher once a week and we're on our own basically. And so you don't get the input that you need, in music. But okay, here's another question. I addressed this a little bit. What should new dance teachers know about working with an accompanist? And the main thing is that we're not mind readers. We lots of times you'll have teachers that they come in and we know them. We work together all the time, so we basically know what they want, and we even know tempos more than what they want, what they think they know or want half the time. So, but lots of times with a new teacher, they don't realize how they have to be very clear with the type of music and the counts and the tempo. The tempo, especially, you're working for ballet. Tempo is everything because it has to be so strict, and that's one thing I love. I don't. You can be metronomic in your exactness, but you also have to be musical, make it sound nice too. And that's one thing I love about playing for ballet, is you have to match the mood of the music to the steps that they're doing, or the sharpness or quickness or things like that. The adagios, I love adagios because I love being able to make a sound that just goes on and is so pretty and really fits the movement that they're doing. And okay, I have another question. From your experience, what advice would you give young musicians who are on the precipice of a career in the arts? Yeah, this is like I said, I got my degrees in organ. And unless you go play for like a big cathedral in some big, huge church, chances are you're not going to be making a great living. You can, but that's not usually the case. I was good at piano, but I wasn't good enough to be a piano major. But I was a good organ major, and I look back at some of the music I played back then, and I'm like, God, that's so hard. How did I do that? But that's what you do. But as far as being a musician, every once in a while they need accompanists for ballet, and actually, if you're in college, they always need accompanists because so many people they have to do recitals and things like that, and you can make money on the side in addition, and um, this is like I say, I had no idea before I started playing for ballet that you could do this and make a living. Um, it doesn't always work out that way, but the arts, as far as going into a career in the arts, it's a tough business because we're usually nonprofit and we're not making tons of money. So that's one thing, if you want to make a lot of money, unless you're a concert musician who can go on tour, and chances are you're not going to be making the big bucks. So it's really takes, for me, it took a long time to find my real niche, in music because like I said, I music directed, but that was always on the side. I never made a living doing that. But with my two jobs working as an organist and accompanist, I'm able to make a go of it, and yeah, it can be really tough. The old phrase, starving artist can be so true. But great, I have another question from Chris again. How does Ballet Arizona differ as an organization from your experience in Houston? Well, I worked in Houston, like I say, from '92 to 1999. During that time there, I mean, got to know a lot of great people and a lot of amazing dancers. I had no idea, especially at the beginning, that Houston Ballet was such a world-class organization, And I was only there about a year when they got Carlos Acosta, fresh out of Cuba. So many people wanted him, and Houston Ballet managed to get Carlos Acosta, one of the greatest young dancers of his generation. And he was there, I think, 3 years. And they would do Don Quixote, and he and Lauren Anderson, who was the principal, one of the few black principal dancers, they would dance Don Q together, and it was one of the most amazing things I have ever seen. There are videos on YouTube of Lauren and Carlos doing Don Q, but it's not from Houston Ballet, but it's still really good, and if you can check it out, I highly recommend it. Anyway, at the time, this is before Houston Ballet got their new building, downtown. but they always had a huge budget, lots of big bank supports, in Houston, and they always had lots of money, because that's what it takes to do those kind of productions and have that company that big and all that. So then I came to Phoenix, and this is 1999. It's right before Eve got here. And, the company was going through some issues, financially and all that. But my first impression was of those dreadful studios that we all had to work in. And the poor dancers had no locker rooms with showers. We had 2 bathrooms. It was like going to a third world country in ballet terms, coming from Houston Ballet. Of course, now we're in this beautiful new building, and it's been, 7 years now, but that's not the case, which what it used to be. So when I came, the company was much different than what it is now at Ballet Arizona. They had some male dancers who looked good in costume, maybe weren't the greatest dancers, but they filled the purpose at the time. And then Eve got here, and year by year by year, the company has just gotten bigger and stronger and just looked better and better and better. And I went on Sunday, they showed La Somnambula on YouTube, and I watched that, Natalia's last performance. And, the company just looks so good. And I can't wait to see Square Dance this Sunday. That's one of my favorites from that program they did. Anyway, so the company here at Ballet Arizona has changed so much, and it looks as good as any company in the country. I really think, it's just got that good, and they're not, they don't have stars or anything like that. But speaking of which, years ago I was at I used to get free tickets to Houston Grand Opera because I knew someone in their box office. And so I'd go and see wonderful things like Porgy and Bess and Turandot, Puccini, and just amazing. And I was sitting in the audience one day, and this gentleman asked me what I did, and I told him I worked with the ballet. And he's like, well, what do you think the difference is between Houston Ballet and Houston Grand Opera? And I said, well, the ballet, they create their own stars. The opera, they bring in all their stars. But the ballet company, they work and they develop their own stars. And you can see that even at Arizona. I mean, the dancers who have been here a while, you can't wait to see them perform on stage. And that's so great to see in what's considered a smaller company, We got another question from Colleen. Is playing for comedy class different from playing for school classes? Yeah, pretty much. The combinations are pretty much the same, and the type of music, that doesn't change. The pace is much faster, and sometimes because there's so many people, the combinations can go on and on and on and on, and our arms just get so tired, and they don't think about that. That's one of the things that, are occupational hazards. But so that's the main difference. In school classes, especially the younger students, there's a lot of time where the teachers have to talk and give corrections and just talk to the whole class in general. So you're not playing quite so much. And like I commented before, sometimes playing for the little ones can be even harder because the tempos can be so slow, and you still have to make the music lively and interesting, and all that. But that's one of the challenges I like. But as far as like music selections. That's what I love about me personally, being able to improvise or write my own music, is that I can custom fit the music to exactly what the teacher needs. And I think that's so important. You know, another thing I want to address, about working with students is that they may know us as Mr. Larry or Miss Aida or whoever is playing their class at the time, but they don't realize that really the accompanist is the second most important person in the classroom. Next to the teacher, they are the second most important person, and I don't think the children realize that. And they're taught to come up and say thank you, and that's great. We love that. But I try to teach a little more than that when we took the students in class, especially when they come into the class with their bags and their shoes and things like that. I'm very particular about my surrounding, in the studios. I consider myself the orchestra to they're the ones on stage and I'm the orchestra. A piano player or no, I'm their orchestra. So I'm very particular about where students put their bags. I don't want any bags or shoes next to the piano. This is not a locker room. This is not a storage area for your crap. So that's one thing I'm very important or very insistent on. And a lot of the younger ones, they don't understand that. The older ones, I've pretty much trained them to know, stay away from the piano and keep your bags away from the piano. Okay. That's another thing. Yeah, I'm very, very OCD and it drives me crazy. So I try to teach them that little, that's part of the respect that you have to learn in ballet class, as much as with your teacher or saying thank you or anything like that. That's what I love about ballet. Another question, do you have any advice for students who are taking ballet class with live accompaniment? Well, advice, keep your ears open. That's the thing about music and also dance to a big degree. So much of it has to do with your ears. And this is a thing I used to, when I was at Houston Ballet, I was a music coordinator. I would teach music classes to like level like 5 or 6, the teenagers. And I would do ear training. And I would do rhythmic dictation. I would have a drum and a drumstick, and I would beat out a tempo. And I would have them write down I would teach them the notation. I went through everything. So I would have them write down the rhythm as best as they could, and see, then we go over and review and see who got it right and who didn't, all of that. But that's a part of ear training. You have to develop your ear just like you do your feet and your extension and things like that. So, I know a lot of kids, because they're interested in dance or interested in arts, a lot of kids I've noticed have taken music lessons, whether it's an instrument or piano or things like that. And I think that is so important. That is also big in developing your ear, the ear training part of it. Especially with kids, if you learn an instrument and are learning ballet, you're ahead of the game as far as other kids, because you understand how rhythm works and things like that, or at least you're trying to get the ear used to it. So that's the thing. Yeah, it's funny because, especially with working with kids, the older kids not so much, but especially the younger kids. Half the kids they mind their own business, and they are pretty good at focus. The other half, they don't have a clue. They're always looking around. And those are the ones who are never on the music because their bodies are behind everyone because they're trying to follow and not be on the music, you know. And that's so important. That's why a lot of times with the little ones, the teacher was just stop and have the kids clap along with the piano to hear that rhythm, to try to get that rhythm inside their body. Um, okay, so anyway, I just got a notice saying that I can wrap up here. I just wanted to thank. I'm sorry. I wish this was like Zoom and I could see everyone who was out there, but I want to thank anyone and everyone who tuned in today. This has been a lot of fun. I thought I would not have anything to say, but I obviously had a lot to say. But anyway, I just wanted to thank you all for listening and hope I've been some assistance. It's been fun talking. Normally people like us are behind the scenes and we don't really get a chance to talk to the public. So this has been a great deal of fun and also educational for me and you as well, I hope. So thank you so much. I'm going to sign off now. Bye.